Bersih 2.0 telah mengeluarkan jawapan terhadap laporan Jawatan Kuasa Pilihan Khas JKPK tentang penambah baik pilihan raya. Kenyataan ini dikeluarkan sebagai lanjutan terhadap laporan JKPK dan juga bersangkutan kes-kes penipuan yang sedang berlaku. Pada hemat Bersih 2.0, ada beberapa perkara dalam laporan JKPK yang dianggap baik dan sesuai. Tetapi banyak juga yang kami anggap tidak mencapai ke tahap yang kami harapkan. Dan kami berharap JKPK akan menjadi satu badan yang tegas untuk memastikan pilihan raya yang akan datang ini bebas dan adil. Dan banyak cadangan yang telah diajukan kepada JKPK dan juga 8 tuntutan Bersih 2.0 boleh digunakan pakai sebelum pilihan raya umum ke-13. Dan kesemua cadangan ini wajib ditunaikan. Sikap berdiam diri kerajaan dan tanpa janji serta komitmen kerajaan untuk menunaikan semua tuntutan ini sebelum pilihan raya umum 13 cukup membinggarkan telinga. Jawatan kuasa pilihan khas dan juga kerajaan telah tidak mengambil serius terhadap tuduhan-tuduhan penipuan. Warga Malaysia yang tinggal di luar negara juga telah dinafikan hak mengundi. Dan termasuk pelbagai penyelewengan yang telah ditimbulkan oleh warga negara kepada JKPK. Kes-kes penipuan yang terus berlaku seperti yang telah kami jelaskan membuktikan pada kami bahawa kerajaan hari ini tidak bercita-cita untuk mengadakan pilihan raya ini dengan bersih dan adil. Semua ini meyakinkan kami bahawa pilihan raya kali ini akan menjadi yang paling kotor. Suruhanjaya pilihan raya telah gagal mendapat keyakinan rakyat. Dan dengan ini Bersih 2.0 menuntut ahli-ahli Suruhanjaya meletakkan jawatan. Saya ulangi, dengan ini Bersih 2.0 menuntut ahli-ahli Suruhanjaya meletakkan jawatan. Rakyat akan terus menyuarakan ketidakpuasan hati mereka terhadap SPR. Rakyat juga akan terus menyuarakan bantahan mereka terhadap penipuan yang berterusan. Rakyat juga membantah kerana tidak ada komitmen untuk menambah baik sistem pilihan raya sebelum pilihan raya umum ke-13. Justru Bersih 2.0 akan berkumpul, duduk bantah secara aman di seluruh negara dan di seluruh dunia. Ini bertujuan untuk menyatakan ketidakpuasan hati kami terhadap kerajaan yang terus-menerus memanipulasi sistem pilihan raya untuk memastikan kemenangan parti yang memerintah. Di Kuala Lumpur, kami akan duduk bantah di Dataran Merdeka pada Sabtu 28 April 2012 jam 2 petang hingga 4 petang. Dan Duduk Bantah ini akan dijalankan di seluruh negara dan di seluruh dunia. Bersih 2.0 ialah kumpulan 84 NGO menjemput semua warga negara yang cintakan negara ini untuk bersama-sama duduk bantah. Ahli-ahli parti, ahli parti politik dijemput untuk bersama sebagai warga negara. Justru duduk bantah adalah saat dan masa untuk semua warga, terutama yang berkuasa, memikirkan apakah legasi dan masa depan yang akan kita tinggalkan kepada anak cucu kita. Ini adalah Bersih 3.0.
The announcement for Bersih 3 has now officially been made by Pak Samatai. Now you can see the reason why we, if I may proceed in English because we have some foreign reporters here, the reason why we had the presentation by the two eminent academics was to show you that the issue of fraud is continuing. It hasn't stopped. And we wanted to establish that one of the main reasons Bersih 3 is happening is because while the PSC was busily working on their report, the fraud was carrying on. Now, the information that was given to you is current. If I'm not mistaken, it's as of Friday.
Yeah.
It's as of last Friday. It is current. So all these issues continue to take place. And unfortunately, the PSC didn't go deeply enough into the issue of electoral fraud. So we are deeply concerned that they have dealt with it in a very cursory manner in the PSC report. They have provided for 45 days in relation to duplicate names, but they haven't looked at the other issues. That's the problem. Now, we, of course, gave our comments yesterday. We have certain issues we're very concerned about. We actually think there should be an independent audit of the electoral roll. Nothing short of that is acceptable. Because really, the PSC could have done that. They could have ordered an independent, complete audit. I know they had MIMOS do some kind of audit, but that is not sufficient. The audit that they did was really very, very confined to one area. It didn't cover the aspects that Chin Huat and Ken Ming have covered. So really, why did we appoint, why do we have a parliamentary select committee if they are not going to use their powers to examine and do a complete audit? So we were disappointed there was no independent audit that is being ordered. We were also disappointed with the manner in which they dealt with the postal votes. Yeah, undi post. You know that that is one of the most problematic areas. Everybody knows. Everybody knows undi post is one of the most problematic areas in relation to the electoral roll. But there was no examination of the present system. The only thing they did was to say they wanted to increase the numbers on postal votes, when actually what we should be doing is decreasing it. Because there's so much suspicion about postal votes, we should be reducing the numbers in relation to that. Now, also, nothing was said in the PSC report about election offences. Ingat tak, Bersih dulu, one of the things we kept raising adalah tentang offences di bawah Election Offences Act. Nothing was said about that. Isn't that serious? If there are people or candidates who are breaching the laws of this country in relation to elections, isn't that an important issue that the PSC ought to have addressed? But they didn't. And Bersih raised it. Huh? I'm talking about things that we actually raised. Now, there is also no mention, as you know, one of our demands is to stop dirty politics. There is no mention of that in the PSC report. So how can it be a complete report when it never went to the heart of one of the key issues for Bersih, in relation to Bersih's demands, which is we want to raise the level of the politics in this country. The PSC ought to have addressed that. And of course, one of the things which we raised, I know because we did, a few of us were there and we did the submissions, was on international observers. Now, tentang hal international observers ini, ya, baru-baru ini, Malaysia pun telah dijemput oleh Myanmar dan sebelum itu oleh Thailand untuk to go as election observers. You know that, right? So we went. Are you aware we went on both occasions? We went, which means we believe in the system. We believe that international observers is a good thing. Why aren't we doing it for Malaysia? Why didn't the PSC deal with that issue? We raised it at the PSC hearing, but there is no mention about international observers. And in fact, well, you can see what happened in Myanmar. It's a credit that they invited. I mean, there were actually allegations of fraud there as well, allegations, but they invited the international observers. So when we participate in all this, why is it we are not able to see the wisdom in having international observers? So 3 focus areas for Bersih 3 will be, number 1, that EC should resign because they have failed the rakyat. They have failed the rakyat. Their duty is not to the government of the day. Their duty is to the rakyat. And they should really search their conscience to ask whether they have served the interests of the rakyat. We do not believe they have. And that's why we say they should resign. The second thing that we will put forward for Bersih 3 is that the elections must be clean before 13. Clean before 13. So PSC comes up, and we did agree with some of their recommendations. They were good. But why didn't they say that these must be implemented before the 13 general elections? Why? Because what does it mean? If, in other words, they have identified weaknesses, but they are not stipulating that the weaknesses must be addressed before the next general elections. What does that make the next general elections? So, to me, unless there is a commitment by the government, and there hasn't been to date, you saw what happened in Parliament yesterday, there's no commitment, as far as we can see, to clean up the elections before the 13th general elections. So that's another reason why Bersih 3 is happening. And final call for Bersih 3 will be for international observers, if the elections go on. Now, I want to add a few things. The protest is a peaceful sit-in. We have checked, Dataran Merdeka is free. So it will be a peaceful protest, and I think everyone knows the rules of that. Any kind of aggression will not be tolerated. We will be the first to hand anyone who misbehaves over to the police. I think we said that the last time, and this is the stand of Bersih. It's very clear. We have also Sarawak and Sabah are on board with us. I think a round of applause for them. Representing Sarawak on the SC is Encik Awan Abdillah. If you could stand up, Awan. And representing Sabah is Andrew bin Ambrose. And June is here as well from Sabah, representing Sabah. Now, so it's Bersih 3 is happening in Sabah and Sarawak as well. It's happening in Kuala Lumpur, and we are now receiving expressions of interest in relation to the other states. It may not happen in every state, but we want people to feel that they are part of this. It is important because it is a message, not just for us. As Pak Samad Said said, it is a message for the next generation. What are we going to do for the next generation? Now, just the last couple of things. I think given what happened the last time to Bersih, the reaction that we received from the government, we hope the same thing will not happen this time. I think they have shown in their handling of other peaceful assemblies that the police are well capable of taking care of an assembly that is peaceful. But nevertheless, we will be sending weekly reports to the Human Rights Council as to the reactions to this sit-in, and so that we keep the Human Rights Council, of which Malaysia is a member, we will keep them appraised of the manner in which the Bersih 3 will be handled by the authorities, and not just the authorities, by others as well, by non-state actors as well. So that is the other thing we will be doing. Now, security is top priority for us. We want to assure everybody that we will do everything in our power to ensure security. We will work with the police. We have done that before, and we will work with them. Now, I want to say a word about political violence. That's another thing that has been happening, as you know, which is why we are concerned about the 13th general elections. There are instances of political violence, and this should not be happening. If you know, a couple of weeks ago, Nurul Iza and her constituency, her team members went to do a banji. They went to check the electoral roll. Every MP is entitled to do that, of course, because they wanted to check whether the 50 people living in one house were actually living in one house. Nothing wrong with that. But when her workers tried to do that, they were arrested. They were arrested by the police on some flimsy charge, and then they were released. Now, that was the second time it happened. What are they worried about? These are the things that make us suspicious in relation to the electoral, apart from the hardcore evidence that we're getting. Now, this evidence that our researchers have got, they have been able to do. My question is, why can't the EC do it? They only correct these errors when it is pointed out to them. And then the next day you get another error. So it doesn't stop. And this is the concern. This is why we are asking for EC to resign, because they are not doing the simple task of ensuring, when I say cleanliness is not enough, it's actually integrity. It's the integrity of the electoral roll that is critical. How can we go to the 13th general elections with the electoral roll in the manner that it is? Now, I want to now finally, so in relation to political violence, I make a call to the leader of the opposition. Please, make an appointment with the Prime Minister, have a meeting, and come out with a bipartisan statement on political violence. This should cut across party lines. So I invite the leader of the opposition to meet with the Prime Minister, and for both of them to issue a statement condemning political violence.
Pihak Media Plus melancarkan e-paper, merupakan satu program baru dalam Media Plus, asaskan kepada teknologi maklumat yang terkini yang wajib kita manfaatkan.